What is one of the worst career moves a woman can make? Some would say motherhood. And I'll tell you why. Parenting is a full-time job, especially if your child is young. It can be highly rewarding, yes, but it also demands a heavy price, especially from women. Women lose out on 60% of their income in the first 10 years after childbirth. 60% in the first 10 years. Yes, there are exceptions, but this is the trend. And here's how it plays out. Both men and women finish school. They start working, they're paid pretty much equally, but as the workers hit their 20s and mid-30s, a gender pay gap appears. That's when many women have children. If they stay in the workforce, they're less likely to be perceived as competent at work. If they leave, they miss out on promotions and other opportunities. And then these women are less likely to be rehired for jobs. But when mothers do rejoin the workforce, they pay a long-term price. Many are stuck in roles below their capability. They are less likely to be paid as much as their male colleagues, and the gap between men and women grows significantly over the next 2 decades. This has been dubbed as the motherhood penalty. A new study measured it across 134 countries, and here's what it found. After the birth of the first child, 24% women leave the workforce in the first year. 5 years later, 17% don't join it. 10 years later, 15% are still absent. And this affects the global workforce. It has a yawning gender pay gap between the ages of 25 and 54. 95% of men are in the labor force, but the figure for women is just 52%. And nothing hurts this like a motherhood penalty. In America, 80% of the gender gap is because women drop out after childbirth. In Latin America, 38% of working women leave the workforce after childbirth. A decade later, 37% are still out. What about India? 73% of Indian women leave their jobs after childbirth. So the numbers vary, but the trend is ubiquitous and the situation is dire. Now, governments across the world are trying to combat it. They're trying to nudge more women into the workforce. The Netherlands, Germany, Austria, and Britain, they're all planning to reform childcare subsidies. Canada already has them. Japan has tax exemption to cover childcare. India has stressed on national standards for childcare. They're doing their bit, but the gains are limited. Government policies alone cannot enforce workplace equality. We need a change in mentality, both in the workplace and in our homes, and this applies to both men and women. Over time, men have started contributing more at home. Childbearing is increasingly seen as a shared job. But even so, men spend just a third of the time women do on unpaid work. So women continue to do more unpaid labor, all while they're expected to balance work and give both the jobs their all. As the saying goes, we expect women to work like they don't have children and raise children as if they don't work. Until this changes, women will continue to pay the motherhood penalty.
From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
We're beating Biden.
How dare he say that?
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.